Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome each of you here tonight. It's always good to have a good representation of the people of the community within the county. I call this meeting to order. Let's have our roll call, please. Dave. There we go. Okay, our next order of business is we will have our invocation and our pledge. Mr. James and Mr. Webb will lead us in those respectively. Let's stand, please.
Let us stand, please.
Pardon me if I don't stand.
That's it.
You're fine, Dave.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity that we have to come together and carry on the business of Pitt County. We ask thy richest blessing upon each and every one, Father. We pray, O Heavenly Father, that whatever we do tonight will be pleasing unto thee. And we ask thee, O Father, to give us wisdom and knowledge to make those decisions that we need to make. We thank thee, O Father, for all of the Boy Scouts throughout this county. We ask the richest blessing upon each and one, upon all of our young people and upon all of our leaders. We ask thee, O Father, to forgive us of our sins, for we ask this in thy holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Manager, is there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
No, sir. Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, let's vote. Okay, first order of business of public hearing. Mr. Rhodes?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. We have two conditional use permits for consideration tonight in two separate public hearings. The first one is for Sarah Grimes, and as you recall, both of these will be handled as a quasi-judicial procedure, and therefore we will need to have folks sworn in for any testimony they'd like to give tonight. So if there's anyone to speak on behalf of the Sarah Grimes conditional use permit, it would be a good time to come up and get sworn in. Just a reminder for both of these public hearings tonight, this is considered again as a quasi-judicial procedure, and it's to establish the facts. Also, all the testimonies provided by witnesses that have been placed under oath. There is to be no ex parte communication, and all the findings should be written in form, and any decision will be appealed to the Superior Court if necessary. This particular permit, requested permit, is for parcel number 6371, and this is on Jasper Lee Court in Stanley Farms subdivision. The comprehensive land use plan designates this area as suburban residential, and one of the conditions that is being placed on this, other than the other conditions that are already listed in the zoning ordinance, is that the hours of operation would be from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Just to orient you as to where this particular property is located, as indicated by the land use plan, suburban residential, it is in very close proximity to the city of Greenville. It is just outside the ETJ, which you can see in the light blue area just to the bottom portion of the screen. Stanley Farms subdivision is this development, and Jasper Lee Court is the cul-de-sac, and the area that we're looking at is one of the lots that is on the bulb of the cul-de-sac. As you can see, all this is residential development in nature. The shaded tan area is residentially developed. The ordinance, the zoning ordinance, speaks to particular conditions as part of this particular use that's being requested for in-home daycare. One is security fencing, the other is location, the third is the hours of operation. In addition, when staff is considering this, as well as the board tonight, you need to also consider different criteria that are listed in the zoning ordinance. The first is whether this particular new use will materially endanger the public health or safety, and in this case, staff says that the daycare should not. Will it substantially injure the value of the adjoining property? We believe it will not. It will be in concert with that, as well as being in harmony with the area, the adjacent area. Since it is all residential, we believe that it will be. Is it in conformity with all the land use plans and other thoroughfare plans and other plans of the county? We believe that it is. So with that, staff is recommending approval. There are two motions to be made tonight if you concur with this recommendation. The first is to acknowledge that the application is complete, and the second is to approve it with the conditions, and the additional condition is the hours of operation from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And we're ready for the public hearing.
Declare the public hearing open. Anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir.
Anyone present wants to speak? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the two
Second.
motions pertaining to this child daycare center.
All right, if no further discussion, we'll vote. Thank you. All right, James.
Similarly, the second conditional use permit tonight is also for residential daycare. This is for Tiffany Nicholson. Again, we'd ask that anyone that would like to speak on this particular item to come forward to be sworn in.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Again, this is for residential daycare in this particular area of the county on Kings Farm Road. It's actually designated as rural residential / agricultural. The hours of operation that are proposed for this use would be from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, 1 hour difference than the other. The area shown on the map is the residential lot that's under consideration tonight, and again, it's a roadfront lot along Kings Farm Road. Do notice that there's actually not a direct driveway from the lot, but there's a proposed right-of-way for future use for the development. If in the future the bulk of the property in the rear is developed, this lot takes access off the proposed road that goes toward the rear. And again, you can see the residential development in the tan color on the screen. Again, 3 conditions that typically go with the residential daycares. 1, security fencing that's required in the back or any play area. The location that we'll talk about with some of the criteria, and also the hours of operation. Similarly with this, we looked at the same criteria. I will tell you that the staff comments are identical for this one as the other one. I'll run through them quickly. Will it materially endanger the public health or safety? We believe it will not. Will it injure the adjoining properties? We believe it will not. Is it in harmony with the adjacent area? We contend that it is. And is it in conformity with the land use plan and other plans? We believe that it is from the staff's perspective. 2 motions before you from our recommendation tonight. The first is to acknowledge that the conditional use permit application is complete, and secondly, that these additional conditions will be part of the conditional use permit, and in particular, that the hours of operation would be from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. Mr. Chairman, we're ready for the public hearing.
Declare the public hearing open. Anyone signed up, Mr. Manager?
No, sir.
Anyone present desires to speak? If not, I declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure? Excuse me, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure no one wants to speak? All right, it's opened and closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt both motions.
Second the motion.
All right, ready to vote?
I'd like to ask a question. James, you didn't tell us how many students is in each one of these, or we'll let them have. I know that most of the time it's 5, but
In-home daycares, less than 6 or less. 6 or less.
and each one of those meet, are going to do that?
That is what their license, or that is all they're permitted for in this category, so
Okay.
6 or fewer.
Okay, Mr. Manager, is next.
Okay, next we have item number 6, presentation, and if we go down to do those, if we have a board action
Motion
first.
to approve the letters of achievement.
Second the
Chairman.
motion.
Let's vote. You got your machine ready? Yep.
Dave. Eugene. Vote that, approving that.
Tonight, Pitt County is going to recognize 5 young men in Pitt County who are Boy Scouts who have earned the rank of Eagle Scout. And as we do this probably on a bi-monthly basis, this is a great recognition and very distinguished honor to do this. As we call your name, if you come forward and bring any family members, Scout leaders, whoever you'd like to come forward with you, those who helped you achieve this recognition, we'd be happy to have them up front. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read this?
Please.
Okay. If Charles Hassel Manning III and his family and friends will come forward, please.
He's got family with him.
Let me read your certificate. It's entitled Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to Charles Hassel Manning III, Troop 340, for achieving the Eagle Scout Award. For his project, he built 2 swings for the handicapped children's courtyard at E.B. Aycock Middle School. And this certificate is presented by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners on this 21st day of November 2011, signed by our chairman, Mark W. Owens, Jr., of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners. Congratulations.
Charles, you want to say something?
I really enjoyed working on this project, and I really think that it will last a few years, so I hope it's used.
We're very proud of you.
Okay, next, if Wesley Adam Spate will come forward. And again, we have a certificate for you, and certificate of appreciation awarded to Wesley Adam Spate with Troop 34. And for his Eagle Scout project, he planted 45 trees behind Rose Hill Free Will Baptist Church to divide the adjoining farmland and church property so a Christian Life Ministry Center could be built. Again, this is signed by our chairman on the 21st day of November, 2011. So,
Congratulations, son. What would you like to say, man?
Just thanks to my mom and dad, because they helped me get through this. Couldn't have done without them.
We're very proud of you, son.
congratulations. Okay, next, if George William Sherman will come forward. Mr. Sherman? You can make him do this by himself? Okay. How you
We'll
doing?
get him later.
All right. Again, a certificate of appreciation awarded to George William Sherman, Troop 9, and for his Eagle project to erect bulk density dry goods storage in the storage room of the Farmville Community Outreach Kitchen by erecting some additional shelving, widening an access door, and constructing a privacy wall. That was your project, and congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
What you got to say, George?
I hope it'll last. I'm pretty sure it'll last. I want to thank everybody who couldn't be here that helped me my 7 years in Scouting.
Sure. Okay, next we have William Todd Landry. If he and his family will come forward. How you doing? Again, another certificate of appreciation awarded to William Todd Landry, Troop 30. And for his project, he built and installed 10 period benches for the village of yesteryear on County Home Road. Again, this is signed by our board chairman, Mr. Owens. Signed this 21st day of November, 2011. Give it to him.
What you got to tell us?
I'd just like to thank my troop, my family, and all my scout leaders, because they helped out a bunch, and I couldn't have done it without them.
Congratulations.
We're very proud of you.
And our fifth and last recognition tonight is for Ian Lawrence Warren. If you'll come forward.
Grandfather, come on too.
And again, we have a certificate of appreciation awarded to Ian Lawrence Warren, Troop 25, for his Eagle Scout project. He developed an orchard for Sunset Ministries Christian Retreat Center in Ada, North Carolina. Again, this is signed by our board chairman, Mr. Owens, on the 21st day of November. Mr. Owens?
Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
All right, you're not leaving now. Tell us a lot.
I really would like to just say thank you to all my friends and family for the support through this and really sticking with me to the end. It means a lot to me. Great honor, and thank you for the recognition.
Dr. Warren and his mother and his grandmother, Ms. Warren, and the other Dr. Warren. By way of special acknowledgement, Luke was up here some months ago. I can't remember how long. So this family here has 2 Eagle Scouts. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I don't know how many Eagle Scouts we have on this board up here, but I know that there's one particular Melvin likes to talk to. But Melvin, will you express some views on the Eagle Scouts? You haven't been one, or still are, however the honor goes?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really count it a great honor to even just make a statement about Eagle Scouts, because that is one of the highest honors that you can receive in scouting. And it's certainly attributed to the hard work that you've done. It doesn't come easy, but because you have achieved this milestone, I can say to you could keep up the good work, and you still have some things to do in the future, but may God continue to bless you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other members of the board like to say anything this time? If not, then we move on to the public address to the board. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have one person signed up, Barry Wood. If you'll come forward, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll keep your time in accordance with your rules.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wood, if you will, give us your name and address so that everybody can listen. Very good.
I'm Barry Wood. I'm Aiden Fire Chief. Glad that the board will give me the chance to talk to you this morning, or this evening, excuse me. And what Mr. Lee is going to present, it affected the Aiden Fire Department the most out of the 129 properties. We are glad that it has been kind of rectified. It's the right thing to do to get these properties into the fire departments that they will get an insurance benefit out of. We had in our response district people in a class 10. They didn't have any insurance break at all. And in class 9. So it's the right thing to do. Those properties in that area were about $12 million in tax base that could have been used by us if and when, but it's the right thing to do there. The property that we are also are giving to another fire department is one that the departments, the 10 properties will be given be able to get a tax break also, because they'll be moving from a class 9 down to a 6, so they're going to get a real break. The confusing part is that on 903 they have to go through our district to get to these properties and then back. That's the only thing. It's going to be a very hard learning process, and because the public, 90% of our calls come from off of 903 off of cell phone. Cell phone doesn't say I'm in front of John Blow's house down here. It just says I'm on 903. So that's an education piece we've really got to work on. Other than that, the last part, out of losing all the property values that we could have used at some point in time, you know, is it fair continuously to pull properties from the Ayden Fire Department? It's not fair to us, but it's fair to the public. And that's what we're still into it. I've been doing it for 31 years now, and what's fair for the public is what's the best overall. So that's where our stand is. The one thing, and I'll address Mr. Elliott on this one, when we did the first of the year, we had to pass out budget processes. All right. We came up and we were addressed that we were going to lose $40 million in tax base. Correct? Yeah, Melanie knows. But we were going to lose $40 million in tax base. The thing that wasn't told at that time, that it took 9 months or more to bring out.
Sorry, go ahead.
Finish. Is that if it had been told that same night that we've also cut off the tax that we're pulling in off of the extra mile of the 5 mile and 6 mile district, we would have known how to readjust our budget instead of at the end of the year come to find out that we're $6,000 in the hole, so that we have to pull money out of the 11-12 budget year to go back and balance the 10-11 budget year. It's always better, and all of y'all know this because everybody does it. If you know the fact, state the fact up front, be straightforward with whoever you've got to deal with. But everything on the, so far as getting on the service tax districts, we're all good with that because it's the right thing to do for the public. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate you for all your years of service and contributions. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have.
All right. Ready to go forward to next, your report, I believe?
Sure. Number 8, under manager's report, item A, just a mention of our next meetings in December, the 5th and 19th, the first and third Monday of the month. The 5th will meet at 9 a.m. in the morning, the 19th will be at 6 p.m. at night. The only other matter I have is just to make the board aware that at your next meeting, you will be having a public hearing on the Pitt County Land Use Plan update, and that'll be advertised, and that's going through a very long and rigorous update process through the planning department, planning board. But Mr. Rhodes asked me just to make that announcement.
All right, sir.
That's all I have.
Next item.
Next item is item number 2. Kathy Booker, your tax administrator, is here to give the October 2011 tax collection report.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. You have in your packet the October 2011 tax collection report. Your figures on your back page are correct. I did want to tell you that the narrative contains a mistake on the collection percentage. The October 2011 county tax collection rate was listed in the narrative at 63.92. It is actually 63.50, but that's still slightly ahead of the October 2010 rate of 62.22. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? If not, appreciate you.
Thank you.
I want to ask you a question.
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
Mr. James.
How far have you got along on reevaluation? And what percentage are we down from what we were 4 years ago?
We are not complete with that. Once we complete the process, then we will take a look at all of the data at one time, just to double check. So we would not want to give you a percentage at this time because we think it's somewhere around 5 to 6% down, but we won't know until we get all of the data in, and that's just an estimate that I'm giving to you. It takes a lot of time to get all that data entered into the system, and then we want to take time to analyze it and make sure we've got our data correct.
I would like to know this. All these home towns are in bankrupt that Fannie Mae has and so forth. How are you considering those homes as far as reevaluation is concerned?
When we do comparables, they would not be considered as an arm's length transaction. We will look at the actual sales. Those are distressed sales, and we actually try to arrive at the fair market value. So a distressed sale would not calculate into a fair market value.
I can understand that when it's just a few homes, but we're talking about a lot of them that, and I thought when you did a reevaluation, it would be what that home will sell for on the open market.
That would be our fair market value analysis
Right.
that we check.
Well, they are being sold on the fair market value though, and the price is way down low. I don't know whether you realize that or not.
We do look at all the sales
Okay,
when we do the revaluation.
Anything else, Mr. James?
so that's all I
Anybody
just
else?
want to know for my own benefit.
All right, if not, do we have a motion to
So
approve consent agenda?
Go ahead, go ahead, that airport.
Excuse me.
We need to approve the tax collections report. I so move.
That's-
Second?
Let's vote. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now we're ready for the airport.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we have Jerry Vickers with us tonight, who is the airport director for the Greenville-Pitt County Airport, and has a presentation to make to you. And this is as a follow-up to the state auditor's audit of their operation that was conducted this past summer.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we appreciate the opportunity to provide you a status report of the state audit of Pitt Greenville Airport Authority. My name is Donald Taylor. I was appointed in the summer of 2006 by the city and reappointed in 2010. Our Executive Director, Jerry Vickers, will provide you with a detailed report regarding the findings and our corrective actions on the state audit. But we would like to note that over the last 22 months, we have been subjected to 9 separate audits from the federal, state, and local level. The scope of these audits have included financial management, security, safety, and operational compliances. Many of these audits have been conducted concurrently. During that period, PGV has executed over $12 million in capital improvement projects to include a $10 million terminal and expansion, a $600,000 implement to our entrance road, and a $250,000 expansion to the reconfiguration of our parking lot facilities. Not a single penny of federal, state, or local funding has been identified as misspent or misused during this 22-month period, nor in the respective auditor's review of our previous year's fiscal management. We certainly understand that the County Board of Commissioners, as well as many interested citizens of the local area, have had concerns related to the state audit. Our presentation tonight is designed to provide a clear understanding of that issue, identify previous deficiencies in policies, and present you our plan for moving PBG forward. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Is that all right? Yep. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We are indeed happy to be here this evening and to be on your agenda to give you a status report on this very most important issue. Outline for my presentation, I'll talk briefly about some background and kind of some key milestones and timelines for the audit. Second, we'll talk specifically about the key findings and recommendations, and then close with an overview of the airport authority's corrective actions. For the background and timeline, we received our initial engagement or notification letter from the State Auditor's Office on February 10th of 2011. Field visits from the audit team commenced approximately February the 21st. The audit team, consisting of 2 to 4 people, spent 15 to 16 extended work days spread over a couple of month period at the airport, reviewing data and files and records as well done in a typical audit. We had an exit conference with the airport authority from the state auditor and her team on June the 22nd, 2011 to brief the full board on the results of the audit. As a result of some issues that arose during that particular briefing, we received an amended audit report on July 7th. We provided our response to that report on July the 14th. And then finally the state released their final comments and released the report to the public on August 3rd, 2011. The findings and recommendations fall into 4 broad categorical areas consisting of the following. There were deficiencies in the airport authority's payroll process, Problems were noted in the former director's compensation. The former director was retroactively credited with some sick leave. And last, there was more oversight by the board was needed. And we'll take a look at each of those specific categories and some more specific findings within those categories. In the deficiencies in the airport's payroll process, the first issue the state had an issue with is the city of Greenville's been doing the airport's payroll since the first employee was ever hired by the airport authority back in the early 70s. However, we've never had a formal written agreement with the city on how that payroll process works. So last May, we did execute an interlocal agreement with the city. In fact, we did that before the audit was over, so now we have that formal agreement in place. There was insufficient oversight of the director's pay. That's what the title of this topic says. If you really go back to the report and read it, it was about there was insufficient oversight of his hours worked, his vacation, and sick leave time that was accrued and used overtime. Basically, what the auditors said is the director should have someone on the board signing his time sheet. So we're doing that now. Either the chairman, vice chairman, or our treasurer comes out to the airport once a week to co-sign checks anyway. So they sign off on a document called a bi-weekly payroll hours report. Shows my regular hours worked, vacation, sick leave used, accrued, etc. Second topic was the problems were noted in the former director's compensation. In the first issue in this area, there was a sick leave incentive bonus not approved by the board. The sick leave incentive bonus is a program that was a benefit initiated by the city of Greenville in 1999. Basically, it's an incentive to encourage employees not to misuse or use too much of their sick leave. The bottom line is if you had no days of sick, you could accrue about a 2 days worth of bonus pay. Anything up to less than, from 0 to about 4 was prorated. Airport employees had participated in this program since its inception in 1999. However, there was nothing in any records, any board minutes to show that the board reviewed that and actually approved it. So what the board did in looking at the report, made a decision to retroactively approve this because this affected virtually all our employees, not just the previous manager. In fact, the board stated if this was a new program the city was proposing today, they would certainly adopt it. And I guess one other point is that over history and time, being connected to the city, with them doing our payroll, administering our benefits, the airport has traditionally, by history, habit, and practice, adopted all the benefits that are offered to the city of Greenville employees. Vacation and sick leave accounting, what was also described in the report as limbo leave. Limbo really being a phrase for there was somewhat of an off the regular books vacation leave accounting system. As we know, as you go into a new fiscal year, you can only carry so many hours of sick leave or vacation leave forward. Typically, it would convert to sick. However, in this case, it was carried off the side for future use. This is the one issue in the whole report. I really can't go into much more detail because it's an active, ongoing issue that we're trying to resolve. But we can tell you two things. The board is 100% committed to resolving this issue. And secondly, as soon as we do get it resolved, we'll be back to the commission and the city council letting you know how that particular issue was resolved. The third topic, categorical area, was the former director was retroactively credited with sick leave. And this was something that was approved by the board in 2006. It was a good faith effort to fix a wrong that occurred when the previous director was first hired. For his first 8 months of working for the airport authority, somebody did not enroll him in the local government employees retirement system. So he lost about 8 months of retirement credit. So what the board looked at that in 2006 as a way to get that back to him so he wouldn't be penalized for it. The process they came up with was to implement a policy that said any employee with 25 years or more of service would gather 2 sick days per month credit instead of 1. But they also moved to retroactively approve that to the previous director's 25th year anniversary. The board was not aware that the general statutes prohibit you from doing retroactive award of sick leave. So therefore, it was determined that 1,344 hours were ineligible to be factored in to computate the credible hours of service and therefore the pension. And I would tell you the one thing that's happened since we briefed the City Council last week, we found out this week the state auditor or the state treasurer has indeed recalculated that pension. Last category is more oversight by the board was needed. There was an issue there where the auditor could not find any records of any closed meetings that had been held prior to 2010. So we've held some closed meetings beginning in 2010. We didn't do any in 9. And we have done that by the book. We have the minutes. They've been reviewed. Some have been unsealed. Some still remain sealed. So we've demonstrated that we have indeed fixed that. The subcommittee meetings were primarily our finance committee, subcommittee, as it reviewed the budget, would always generate a very detailed memorandum of action to the full board to make recommendations on the staff's proposed budget. The one thing we didn't do on the memorandum of action is put / minutes on there. So now we've jointly done that and fixed that as well. Formal policies and procedures, this was a heavy focus area for the audit. That term, policies and procedures, is in this report nearly 60 times if you word search it. So, and that doesn't include our comments, it's just the auditor's comments. So I'll talk a little bit more specifically about what we're doing there, but basically it's about an outdated personnel policy. And the board had never had a formal system of board policies. In other words, it didn't have a standard operating manual, so to speak. Director's oversight, his employment contract. The state auditor had an issue there because it didn't name a salary. He had been hired, contract extended, amended over time, and what the extensions would say in terms of salary was just no less than what I'm currently making today. Our attorney says it's a legal contract. However, we do recognize going in the future, we need to name that salary, and indeed when I was hired, my salary is named in my contract. Performance appraisals, this was sort of across the board. They really didn't like our performance appraisal system, and I kind of tend to agree with them because we're going to throw it out and implement a new one come February. But this is really more about the previous manager and how the board did the performance appraisals. They were virtually done during budget time, but they were done verbally. There was no written documentation of a performance appraisal. So we're going to fix that, and future appraisals will be written, and they'll be based on goals, objectives, and measurable performance. Pay comparability analysis is that the audit team said that anytime COLA, merit, any type of raise was being considered, the board should have a pay and comparability analysis. That is a market research study. And we've been doing that for a couple of years. But keep in mind, this audit covered the time frame 2005 through 2009. So it didn't exist at that time. Financial aspects of the audit, I'd also like to mention the audit did include a full-fledged physical control audit of the airport financial management to include our local, federal, and state funds. And there were absolutely no deficiencies or findings in this aspect of the audit. The airport also just completed an annual financial audit and received a clean opinion, which is the best remark that you can get. To summarize corrective actions and amplify a few other points, all findings in this audit have been fixed or are actively in the process of being fixed. Airport Board Policy Manual, for the first time ever, was adopted on October 13th that describes board members' duties, responsibility, has a code of ethics, a criteria for self-assessment of the authority to conduct its own annual self-assessment. We'll roll out a new personnel policy schedule for consideration and adoption by the board January of 2012. Again, our personnel policies were a bit dated. Again, we'll put a new performance appraisal system scheduled for consideration and adoption February 2012. We've already implemented a new board member orientation program that's been approved and adopted by the board in August. We're going to move forward and do a revised airport pay and classification plan to be considered and adopted in February. The February meeting will be quite busy adopting new policies. We will provide the board an annual market survey review of all salaries during the budget preparation cycle. Again, we have done that for the last year. Basically, we've adopted a policy. We'll continue to do that. All forms of employee compensation, regardless what's COLA, merit, any other type of thing, will be specifically approved by the authority. Authorities we mentioned will conduct an annual self-assessment of how well things are being administered at the airport, and there will be an annual review of the director's performance based on measurable goals and outcomes. And Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, that concludes my presentation, and be happy to take any questions that you may have.
As we read from our agenda, this is a report. And Mr. Vickers, I appreciate you, and you have some board members present, for being here and presenting this report to us. Of course, as been indicated by the material that we have here, there are some things that are still ongoing that will take place and will be in the works, so to speak. But having that been said, does the board decide to, or desire to at this time, to ask any questions? Ms. James?
I'd like to make some comments and questions too. Of course, as Jerry knows, it's a lot of times all the board members didn't agree with everything that went on, but that's, and I think the main thing is that this board of county commissioners, remember, you're 50% interest in that airport. So you ought not be sitting back, let the city of Greenwood do all the stuff. If we had done our job like we ought to have done it in the beginning, we probably wouldn't have had the problems that we have. Jimmy, don't you think so? You on that board in what, in 2005?
I think that there was considerably more information that could have been shared with the board, and if that information had been shared, we could have better managed. But since it wasn't shared, we couldn't manage it.
But let me say on Jerry's behalf and the board, I think we're on the right road now. I think it's going to be a different ballgame. But I don't think it. I know it is. There's going to be questions asked now that wasn't asked before, and it's never good to have a board, and if they stay there too long, you see, I don't believe with a board like that ought to stay there too long. You become too close to the bosses, so to speak, and you kind of hate to say no, and I know that. And of course, Jim was a wonderful guy, but that's beside the point. But my hat's off to them now. I think they're on the right track, and I think that you're going to see it run, and you'll be able to understand more, and the public will be able to understand more. And you know what I'm talking, that airport now is something that Greenville and Pitt County can be proud of. All you got to do is to go out there and look at it, or you fly in and so forth. So we certainly got lots to be thankful for, and of course we can thank the board for that, the years ago, that what they did and the decisions in which they made. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Cash, do you want to?
Well, the only other thing I would say, what I have learned from this experience is that when you serve on a board, you have the responsibility to ask the probing questions, even though sometimes it may even irritate someone, but that doesn't make any difference. But if you are serving on a board, any board in this county, you have a responsibility to ask questions. It is not the appropriate thing to do to just simply say, I'm on the board, therefore I'm going to let the manager of this organization make all the decisions, and I'm just going to listen. We have to ask some probing questions. That's the thing I've learned from this process.
Yeah, I think you're right.
All right, Beth, I believe you're next.
The only thing I wanted to say was I want to thank the board members and you also, Mr. Vickers, for taking this on and moving forward. Anyone who has ever been an administrator of any kind knows that it's almost impossible to function effectively without policies and procedures up to date. And it's very hard to do evaluations and appraisals of your employers if you don't have that kind of process in place. And I think you've already moved on that since you've been there. So my thought has been, and it was reiterated with this report, is that the guidelines were not there to even probe and ask the questions sometimes, Mr. Garris, even though I agree with what you said for any board that we serve on. But I think once the guidelines are established and set down, and the board members know what it is, how they're supposed to function, and and your employers and all of that know, it'll make all the difference in the world. And thank you so much for proceeding with this. And it looks like after February, all of those things are going to be in place.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vickers, I want to thank you for your transparency in revealing this to the commissioners and also to the public. Also, I want to applaud you for something that you've done that I don't think has been done before, in that you've been meeting with the community concerning some concerns of the airport and their living conditions. And I think this is probably still ongoing.
Yes, sir.
But I want to commend you for that, because I don't know of any other manager or director that's done that. And so I just want to applaud you for that. Thank you very much, Mr.
Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Vickers, you made reference to your attorney. As I understand it, the attorney for a while for the airport authority was the city attorney.
That's correct.
That's probably not the case now. Is that correct?
That has changed. We have our own private attorney.
Okay. That's what I wanted to clarify.
That's good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's good.
All right, Mr. Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to echo the other sentiments that we appreciate the standards that you're installing. It's amazing to me that something like that went that long, apparently just shooting from the hip on evaluations, not having a policy and procedure, and appreciate the steps you've taken to really bring some integrity to that organization and the appearance of the way it operates, because there's obviously been some problems in the past. And I want to echo what Commissioner Garris said. If we serve on a board, and that's for a citizen or a commissioner, that we have a duty to make sure that things are being done above board and done correctly. So thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hammond. Dave.
Yes, sir. Have the retirement figures been adjusted?
They have, based on the retroactive sick leave hours. Yes, sir.
Been corrected and adjusted? Thank you.
Ready, Dave?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Ethan.
The increase that the former administrator got, was any of them approved by the board?
They all were.
They all were?
Yes, sir.
Looked like the ones that wrote the check from the city would have picked up on them. This observation.
Well, just to be clear, all the raises he received, like merit pay over time, each year, we had documentation in board minutes that specific amount of pay raise was approved by the board.
But let me come back now. I was on that board, and I don't remember voting. I asked Jamie, he didn't remember voting on it. So let's keep it above the board.
There was a lot of fuzzy things going on, I think. And again, what I have learned from the process is ask probing questions, period, about any subject. Sometimes I think we have a tendency to kind of back off when it comes to salary because it's so personal. And sometimes in the private sector where I came from, it was also considered to be very confidential. You didn't discuss salaries. But government is different. And we need to ask those probing questions to make sure we totally understand what the total package is.
Sorry. I said, I didn't ever vote on that. Of course, I made that statement many times.
You know, hindsight brings forth a lot of wisdom in anything. But you've got an agency that's gone through 9 audits, or how many has been expressed here tonight to us, and you find nothing from an auditing standpoint wrong, though there were oversights that was not within it. So I don't, and I did not sit on the board. I'd probably done just like the rest of the board members did. But I don't know of any more two members that's more probative with their questions than Jimmy Garrish and Eugene James. So I'm sure that each of them did ask questions. But I believe I don't think you need to whip yourself about that.
No.
And as I said, the hindsight is great wisdom. But it appears as what's been said here and what's been presented and what will come forth down the pike will make it our airport and the people that serve it even greater than they are now. And we're truly thankful for that.
Let's forget
Thanks,
the
sir.
past and go to the future, then. That's what we got to do.
Okay? Anything
We
else,
can do
Mr.
it.
Whitaker?
No, sir.
Any of your board members want to say anything? They know how to fly?
One of them does.
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate all of you. Now, Jimmy, I believe I'm coming back to you again, number 9.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second it.
All right, any questions about that? If not, let's vote. Dave, you got you? There you go. Ephraim? All right, let's see, number 10. Noel, you ready?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak before you tonight. I'm coming to you tonight from agenda items that you got in your packet, modification of fire response and insurance districts. I have to say that I think Chief Wood done a very good job in his presentation. I said thank you when he came back. And this is mainly a cleanup of the insurance districts to ensure that all homeowners receive insurance rate benefits. So we did set 3 criteria. Those 3 criteria were listed in your agenda. Be more than happy to go over them with you, but basically it was individuals outside of a 6 mile that could not get any class 10, anybody within a 5 to 6 mile that we could move to a 5 mile district to increase that. But it did, the little caveat was we couldn't touch any tax districts, so we had to go back and be sure there was no tax districts. OSFM has reviewed the maps and approved the recommended changes. The only thing bad, and Barry mentioned up here that this little area off 903, that there was 10 parcels, OSFM says there's 2 more that you can get them insurance. So we did include those 2. So that brought the parcel count from 129 to 131. That is in an attachment that you do have of the breakdown of the 7 different departments. Also, there's a resolution that has been crafted by Fire Marshal Alan Everett that if you will agree to this tonight, needs to be approved. And plus, there's maps in your agenda, but also we had color maps printed for you because I don't think they really print out that good in your agenda. So, Mr. Chairman, tonight we're asking that you approve this new insurance district boundaries to make these changes affecting these 7 different
With the resolution you have enclosed. What's the pleasure of the board?
That's a move.
Second, but may I ask one question?
Yeah, well, we're going to ask some questions on this.
No,
Yes, sir.
you may not have done this. Have we calculated what the net tax is going to be versus the savings on the insurance premiums?
Okay.
For these 131
Let me
parcels?
go back and clarify. These individuals right now are not in a tax district.
I know, but now, won't this put them in a tax
No, sir,
district?
this is not your
Okay,
service.
we're just only,
This
okay,
is,
all right,
we're just
okay.
cleaning this up.
Not
That's
yet.
the next
And we
step.
identified this during our process of developing the fire service district.
This is
report.
Okay,
Right.
fine.
This
So
will
then
come in next.
I'll just only ask half of my question. Have you calculated how much money they will save in insurance premiums? Because I think it's going to be fairly significant.
It'll be fairly significant, I think, too, because when you look at what Barry was talking about when it does change, you're talking about $12 million of property
Right.
that that could have been in his service district that is moved to some place where the actual owners can actually receive a reduction in their insurance rates.
The point that I want to emphasize is what we're doing here is going to save 131 parcels some money. Now, that isn't totally true either. It's only going to be the ones that have buildings on them.
Have buildings and
Which
structures.
is
And it is-
89
Yes,
of
sir,
the
it's broken down in
131.
that.
So
That's correct.
89 parcels will save money on their insurance premium.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Let's see, I believe Mr. Webb is next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only concern, my main concern is with the Aden Fire Department. They're losing out of the 131 they're changing, 68% of them are leaving the Aden zone. And are these people who aren't currently taxed?
That's correct,
In the
sir.
Aden. Now, is the fire department, once the service districts go through, will they receive an increase?
Yes, sir. When we go back and compute, if we take the balance of their district, I think where it's figured at about 77 at their current tax rate, it will go to about 86, I think is correct. But there will be an increase if you approve the service districts and those additional people are taxed for that service.
Because part of my understanding when we started this was to ensure that anyone receiving service was paying a tax.
Correct.
And that the help with these particular departments that was going to affect not having to worry about adjusting the tax rate every year, because with the increase in revenue that maybe we could put that off for a few years. And I'm just concerned with 85 leaving Aden's, where's that going to leave us as far as a net increase for them?
They'll still have a large net increase.
Okay.
But again, Aden was the largest served area that was serving in Pitt County that was serving an area that was not in a tax district.
And if we approve this tonight, there's not going to be any other lines drawn that's going to move anything else out of their district?
No, that was instructions that I understood, that we needed to clean this up, and then as we move forward, we'll develop service district reports.
Okay, I just wanted to clear up. Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. James?
How many miles are you talking about from the Eden Fire Department as you go out? I took notice when he was talking, he said that one department was going to come through part of Aden's district to get to another area that they were serving. That doesn't add up to me.
Mr. James, when we go back in, GIS helped us with this, and they use a tool called a centerline analyst. And they'll take from that station, and they'll run the road mileage from that station different ways to get to there.
But it should run circles, but go ahead.
But it runs road miles. And that is where that area on 903, that when Aden was coming in, their 6 miles run out, and that is where Winneville could come in and actually capture that into a 5-mile district.
See, I want all of you to know this. This is very similar to the EMS. Bell Opera comes clear over to Belleville to the Briley Road. And I've been fussing for years about it. All the way to the Briley Road, they don't even know how to get back from there to Greenville most of the time, to the hospital. I'm telling you. And the same thing at Belleville. Some of them leave Belleville and go to Bedford and go to Greenville. Can you believe that? That's happened. All right, but what I'm concerned with is these people, when you tax them, the farther they live, and you know this as well as I do, the farther that place is from the fire department, the less likelihood you are to save it. But yet they are being charged the very same as somebody who lives next door. Now, you tell me how that works. All right, now, going back, everything is not that way. If you live in a drainage district and you pay drainage taxes, then the farther away that you get from the source that it's draining from, the less your taxes is. Because those are the ones who are receiving a benefit. But I don't, these people that's going to be 10 miles away from the fire station, and you're going to have them that far. Just look how many minutes, how long it's going to take you to get there. But anyway, it's something to think about. It's not all the way it is on paper. If you're out there, because I've been a volunteer fireman for 50 years, longer than most of them have. And I know how it is. It takes you a time to take and to get there. Normally, you know it too. That's the reason why you got one down there in Beaufort County, part of your department, so that you can serve the people.
That's correct.
And that's all I got to say. But I want all of you to remember that now. When you're taking them in the department, you ought to be getting the benefit from it by being able to put that fire out or to rescue those people that are there.
Thank you, Mr. James. Dr. Johnson?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a number of things that our county manager and Mr. Lee are going to need to work on, and that's a given. But Mr. Lee, for clarification purposes, you made reference to OSOM. What does that stand for?
Office of State Fire Marshal's Office. I apologize for that. We use so many acronyms, but the North Carolina Office of State Fire Marshal Office, which are the ones that actually govern the 5 and 6 mile insurance areas. And we look at 6 miles, and that's what you're looking at is a 6 mile district.
The acronyms cause us some dismay sometimes, and we need to clarify what it means. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right. Anything else? If not, we've had a motion. Is there any further discussion? If not, ready to vote on the motion?
Yeah.
All right, ready to vote?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Okay, let's see, Mr. Dickerson. You want me to read it for you, Phil?
Just find it for me.
All right.
I got it.
Help him, James.
I think I actually got it now. Okay. This is concerning the encroachment agreement for the sewer force main from Chicago School to Greenville. The map that you should see on the screen now is the route that the force main will take from Chicago School. Goes down 43 or up 43, whichever you'd like to say, to Ivy Road, which is about 80% of the way up. Goes down Ivy Road to a large pump station, and comes back out Ivy Road, and the force main then goes up toward Edwards Farm Road, across Edwards Farm to County Home Road, a little bit down Worthington Road, and down Quarry Road to Boyd Lee Park, and around Boyd Lee Park to the existing pump station. Now, the pump station on Ivy Road will serve a very large area. This is, I think, the only project that we've done for the schools that actually is capable of serving a very large area with a pump station on Ivy Road. There's a little more capacity in the pump station at the school, but not as significant as the big pump station will be on Ivy Road.
Main thing, Phil, is it saves the cost of purchasing the easement, isn't it?
Yes, it does.
What, is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the recommendation for the encroachment agreement.
Now discussion. All right, Dr. Johnson?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Dickerson, I think we should clarify to a certain extent force main versus natural flow. So,
okay, force main's under pressure, it's being pumped, much more difficult to tap into the force main itself. Again, the large pump station will allow gravity flow over a large area, but there won't be a lot of opportunity to tap onto the force main itself as it runs along.
clarify, if you will, existing force mains in terms of school system where we have force mains.
Have one to Hope Middle School, Belvoir, Pactola, Stokes. I may have missed one. I don't know.
Main ones were Pactolus and Stokes, large, covering the school system at least.
Right, they're the most recent ones for which we got stimulus money to do the work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. James.
The one at Belvoir is one of your biggest, Phil. It will go out 1.5 miles, or we were told wrong one. Remember?
I don't remember specifically.
Well, I do.
remember they haven't allowed any taps into it.
Right, but the one at Belvoir, and not only that, if you'll go back, we had an input in that, and I've asked the question before, why, if it'll cover all of this area, why don't we just go ahead and sometimes, but it's so expensive, that's the reason. But it's one of your larger ones. We did that even before we hooked up with Burroughs Welcome and spent that $3 million and something dollars for them on that.
All right.
That was before most of your time, About all of you. It's been a long time.
Before everybody's time, but yours, Gene.
No, not quite. But we do have a big one up here.
Ethan.
As I understand it, this authorization, we are really acting for the state to give them an easement down their state right of way to construct this pipeline, except for there's 3 places on it, as I understand it, that they got to get an easement from private property owners to go around some ditches, some culprits, and one goes downside of a trailer park, and they got to cut a bunch of trees.
There's some obstructions that they
in
have to-
effect, it's what we're doing is for the state. Is that right?
No, it's for us. The state is in effect giving us an easement on their right of way to install the sewer line.
We're giving them the right of way to go down the highway easement.
The state's giving us the right to go down the highway easement. Yes, sir.
Anything else, Ethan? All right. If no further discussion, let's vote. All right, thank you. Your next item, the town of Farmville wants us to join in with them to request a grant for pedestrian bicycle walkways. What's the pleasure to vote?
Move to approve it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, you ready to vote?
Mr. Chairman, you gonna use it?
Yes. Touche, Ethan, you're right. It took me a moment for it to get that.
But they've already got a lot of them. They want to cover all the farms, which is good.
All right, number 4.
Yes, number 4 is appointment to the Pitt County Nursing Home Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee. You had a recommendation from the Middies Commission for the appointment of Julia Banks to this committee, and she meets the requirements set forth in the statutes.
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, let's vote. Okay, Madam Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 and A1. A3 to consult with an attorney employed by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege, and under A1 to prevent the disclosure of confidential information.
So move, we go in closed session.
All right, let's vote.
I don't understand why.
I thought you wanted to go first.
Throw it on the floor. Stop it.
Yes, again. Yes, again. Did not hit it.
Get mad.
Phil, yeah, why don't you stay? Stay. Yeah.
Thank you for staying with us. We're now back in open session. Does the board have anything further tonight?
Motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the closed session minutes for November
Second.
7th as to the content only.
Second.
All right, motion made and second. You ready to vote? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right. Very good. Thank y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.